Isn't it still incredible that we can be on one continent in the morning and, well, another by night?
It really is.
This vast network of air travel, these global connections,
Yeah.
it's constantly evolving.
Yeah.
And that's precisely what we're going to unpack for you today.
Mm-hmm.
We've gathered some fascinating recent developments in the aviation world that really paint a picture of what's happening right now.
Absolutely. We've pinpointed three key news items that, while they might seem like isolated events on the surface,
Right.
they actually reveal some pretty significant underlying shifts in how the world connects.
Okay, let's get our flight plan in order then. First up, we're looking at China's Central Airlines. They're launching their very first UK service, and maybe surprisingly, they've chosen East Midlands Airport as their entry point.
Interesting choice.
Yeah. Then we'll be navigating the ongoing saga of United Airlines Boeing 737-10 deliveries and their latest revised timeline. It keeps shifting.
It certainly does.
And finally, we'll be heading over to Southeast Asia to examine VietJet's strategic decision. They're allocating a substantial number of their Boeing 737s to their operations in Thailand.
Okay.
So our mission today,
Mm-hmm.
to go beyond just the headlines, extract the really interesting details, and connect the dots so you can quickly understand the key dynamics at play in the aviation industry. Ready to dive in?
Definitely. Let's start with that intriguing move by Central Airlines into the UK market via East Midlands Airport.
Right. So Central Airlines, they're a cargo carrier based in Haikou. They've just inaugurated a new scheduled cargo service to Nottingham East Midlands Airport EMA.
Okay.
And what makes this particularly interesting, I think, is that this marks their debut in the UK.
Yeah.
EMA is their first ever destination in the country.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is who they're flying for. The Chinese logistics company U-Express.
Ah, yeah.
So this isn't just Central Airlines expanding its own network necessarily. It strongly suggests U-Express is aiming to, significantly strengthen its logistical footprint within the UK.
Precisely. So the road itself starts in Xiamen, makes a stop in Tianjin, and then flies on to Nottingham.
And the return.
Interestingly, the return flight goes directly back to Xiamen, no stop. And this isn't just a one-off flight. They're kicking things off with a twice-weekly service.
Twice weekly, right from the start. That's quite a commitment.
It is. And they've certainly brought in a capable aircraft for the job. They're operating a Boeing 777-200 freighter.
A 777F.
Specifically, the aircraft registered B-2079. That's a considerable investment for entering a new market like this.
Absolutely. And here's a little extra nugget you found.
Yeah, while the official launch was apparently May 13th, some of the flight tracking data seems to indicate that this same aircraft, B-2079, might have actually been flying the route as early as May 5th.
Oh, interesting. A soft launch, perhaps?
Could be. And since that official first flight, that 777 has been landing in Nottingham every 3 days. So quite a regular pattern right from the get-go.
That consistent schedule right out of the gate, it really suggests there's already demand, doesn't it? And a high level of confidence from U-Express.
Seems like it.
And the fact that U-Express also has plans to develop a warehouse facility right there at the airport, well, that just underscores their long-term commitment. They're setting up a proper base in the East Midlands.
Yeah, it really does suggest a more integrated cargo operation taking shape there, like a mini hub.
Exactly. And it's not happening in isolation, as you mentioned. EMA has also recently welcomed new cargo flights from Ethiopian Airlines and Atlas Air just this month.
Right.
So Central Airlines is kind of joining a period of notable cargo expansion at that specific airport.
It makes you wonder why EMA specifically.
Well, perhaps less congestion than Heathrow or Gatwick? Maybe better road links for distribution?
Could be. And if we look at Central Airlines itself, you mentioned they're based in Haikou. Their current fleet is a mix, right?
Yeah.
Boeing 737 freighters, the narrow bodies.
Yeah, they've got Nidus 300s and 800 BCFs.
And then the larger 777 freighters, like the one on this route, those are their wide bodies. And their strategy apparently is to actually grow the wide body fleet while scaling back the narrow body side.
Which fits perfectly with this new UK route, doesn't it? Long haul requires the bigger birds.
Makes perfect sense. They currently serve, 14 destinations, 13 routes? Pretty busy schedule, 21 flights a day. So let's get down to the core of it. What does it really signify when a Chinese cargo airline picks a regional UK airport, not London, as its very first point of entry into the country?
Well, it raises some really interesting questions, I think, about the dynamics of international trade. It could indicate strengthening trade lanes specifically between China and that East Midlands region, maybe specific industries there.
Yeah, automotive or manufacturing, perhaps?
Could be. It also definitely highlights the increasing role that regional airports can play in handling international cargo. They might offer efficiencies, maybe quicker turnaround times, or just better access compared to the huge congested hubs.
Right, less waiting around.
And from Central Airlines' perspective, it clearly shows their ambition to expand in the long-haul cargo sector. Maybe, as we said, the less congested environment of a regional airport just offers a smoother entry into a brand new market.
Makes sense. Okay, let's shift gears now. We'll cross the Atlantic and delve into the world of passenger travel, specifically looking at some significant aircraft delivery delays. We're talking United Airlines and the ongoing wait for their Boeing 737-10s.
Yes, this has become quite a protracted situation, hasn't it? United has now further revised its expected timeline for getting its first Boeing 737-10. They're now saying sometime in 2027 or maybe even 2028.
Wow, 2027 or 28. That's a considerable slip from their initial plans.
It really is. And the main reason, as we understand it, is the continued uncertainty around the aircraft's certification. The regulatory process is just proving very challenging.
Still dragging on.
Indeed. Andrew Nocella, he's United's chief commercial officer.
Right, the network planning guy.
Exactly. He even suggested that United might not actually be the first airline to operate the B737-10 anymore, which, well, that really underscores the extent and the impact of these delays.
That's a pretty significant statement, especially when you remember United is the largest customer for the 737-10 globally. They've got, 165 of them still on order?
That's right, 165. It puts the scale of the impact into perspective.
And to truly appreciate the timeline here, we should probably remind ourselves, they originally thought they'd get the first 737-10 way back in 2020.
2020. So yeah, we're looking at nearly a decade of setbacks. First, the initial MAX grounding, and now these subsequent ongoing certification challenges for this specific larger variant.
It's definitely a challenge for United, but they aren't just sitting on their hands, are they? They're still taking deliveries of the smaller Boeing 737-9 variant.
That's right, as part of their broader fleet modernization efforts. So they are still adding new, more fuel-efficient aircraft, just not the specific larger model they were initially counting on for, certain routes or capacity bumps.
Right. Keeps the modernization going somewhat.
Exactly. And it's interesting, you noted a potential difference in outlook within United's own leadership.
Yeah, it seemed that way.
While the CCO, Mr. Nocella, is talking about 2027 or 2028, the airline's CFO, Mike Leskinen, he seemed a bit more optimistic earlier this year, suggested more confidence of Boeing making progress on the certification.
So a bit of mixed messaging maybe?
Yeah.
Or just different perspectives?
Could be. Perhaps reflects the ongoing uncertainties, The finance guy might be looking at Boeing's projections while the commercial guy is dealing with the practicalities of network planning without the planes.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But despite the 737-10 issues, their current MAX fleet is already pretty substantial, isn't it?
It is. They've got 118 of the 737-8s and 99 of the 737-9s flying right now.
Okay.
And by the end of Q1 2025, they actually had 209 MAX aircraft total in the fleet, which was apparently 9 more than they initially anticipated for that point.
So the smaller variants are helping fill the gap to some extent.
To some extent, yes. However, the delays with the NACS 10 do have a tangible impact on their near-term plans. They were contractually supposed to get 67 MAX aircraft in the back half of 2025.
Okay.
But now they only anticipate adding 27 in that period. So their revised target for the total number of MAXs by the end of 2025 is now 236, lower than they hoped.
Right, so slower growth overall than planned. And it's not just Boeing deliveries being adjusted, is it? You mentioned Airbus, too.
Yeah, just a brief note on that. The delivery schedule for their Airbus A321XLRs is also being tweaked slightly. They now expect 8 of those by the end of 2026,
Okay.
which they say aligns with a revised contractual timeline. They have 50 of those XLRs on order in total.
So, stepping back, what are the broader implications of these continued 737-10 delays?
Well, for Boeing, it certainly underscores the ongoing challenges they face, not just with this certification, but generally in regaining stability and predictability after the initial MAX crisis.
Confidence is key, right?
Absolutely. For United, it means constant juggling, adjusting their fleet plans, their network growth strategies. It potentially affects which routes they can fly, what capacity they offer, maybe keeps fares higher than they might otherwise be on certain routes.
Possibly.
And for the wider airline industry, it just highlights how complex and potentially disruptive introducing new aircraft types can be. These delays can have knock-on effects across the whole system, impacting competition, maybe even the passenger experience eventually.
Yeah, a complex web. Okay, let's move on to our final piece of aviation news for this deep dive. We're heading back east, focusing on the dynamic Southeast Asian market, specifically VietJet and their operations in Thailand.
Right, this is a strategically very interesting move by VietJet. They've reached an agreement with Boeing to allocate up to 50 aircraft.
50, that's a lot.
50, yes. From their existing larger order for Boeing 737s, specifically to their affiliate airline based in Thailand, which is VietJet Thailand.
And this wasn't just some backroom deal, was it?
Yeah.
The signing ceremony apparently had some very high-level attendees.
That's right. The prime ministers of both Vietnam and Thailand were there. That really emphasizes the sort of geopolitical or at least regional significance attached to this agreement. It's not just business.
Definitely signals importance.
Absolutely. So VietJet is taking these 50 planes from their total order of 200 B-737s, and the first deliveries for VietJet Thailand are expected to start in October 2025.
October next year. Okay.
And this influx of new aircraft, well, it's anticipated to significantly bolster VietJet Thailand's route network, both domestically within Thailand and for international connections, especially, it seems, between Thailand and Vietnam.
You'd expect that. Could really ramp up competition on those routes.
Absolutely. It signals a strong commitment to growth in that specific region.
Okay.
And we even have some quotes from the people involved. Penny Burt, she's the president of Boeing Southeast Asia.
Okay.
She emphasized that this partnership aims to connect communities and be a key driver for economic development across the region.
Standard Boeing line, but relevant here.
Pretty much. And then Wendy Phuong Thao, who is the chairwoman of VietJet, she highlighted their dedication to sustainable aviation growth and mentioned their 3 connects strategy.
3 connects.
Yeah, focusing on strengthening links between supply chains, businesses, and local areas, specifically between Vietnam and Thailand.
Interesting framing.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the planes themselves,
No.
right? Boeing's providing more support.
Exactly. Boeing is also slated to provide VietJet Thailand with a whole suite of technical support. Things like training programs for pilots, maintenance techs, engineers, plus ongoing product support. It suggests a deeper, sort of longer-term collaboration.
More than just selling metal.
Right. It frames the agreement as more than a simple aircraft purchase. It's positioned as a broader partnership. Vietnamese, Thai, American entities with shared goals around digital transformation and sustainable development in Southeast Asian aviation.
Okay. Now, for listeners who might not be as familiar with VietJet Thailand, they've been around a little while, haven't they?
They have. Established back in 2014 as a joint venture. They're based at Suvarnabhumi Airport in Bangkok, BKK, and they've grown into a pretty significant player in the Thai market.
Yeah, I've seen their planes around.
They currently operate 33 routes, covering both domestic Thai flights and international destinations, connecting Thailand with Vietnam, obviously, but also Japan, China, India, Cambodia, other regional spots.
It's quite a network already.
Yeah, and they've apparently served over 30 million passengers already. They're seen as playing a notable role in boosting tourism, trade, and generally fostering cooperation within the ASEAN region, especially between Thailand and Vietnam.
Right. So what's the bigger picture here? What can we draw from this specific allocation of 50 Boeing jets to VietJet Thailand?
Well, I think it strongly underscores the continued expansion and, frankly, the potential of the low-cost carrier model within Southeast Asia. It's still a huge growth market.
Definitely.
It also highlights the strategic importance of Thailand itself as a central hub for air travel in that region. It's geographically well-positioned. And for Boeing, well, it reaffirms their ongoing vital role as a key aircraft supplier to this really rapidly growing part of the world. Plus, this allocation could give VietJet Thailand a real competitive edge, operating newer, more fuel-efficient aircraft that could impact pricing, route offerings, shakes things up a bit.
Yeah, interesting times ahead in that market. So as we bring this deep dive to a close then, we've covered quite a bit of ground, haven't we?
We have.
We've seen cargo operations expanding into new regional airports in the UK, which maybe hints at shifts in global trade logistics, moving away from just the mega hubs.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's United Airlines, still navigating these significant delays in getting a key aircraft type, the 737-10, forcing them to constantly adjust their strategic planning.
Right. The ripple effects of that are still playing out.
And over in Southeast Asia, we see a low-cost carrier, VietJet, making a really substantial commitment to growth and connectivity in a vital market via its Thai operation.
Exactly. And what's particularly striking, I think, is how these seemingly separate events a cargo route here, a delivery delay there, a fleet allocation somewhere else are actually interconnected pieces. It's all part of the complex puzzle that is the global aviation industry.
Absolutely. Each decision, each delay, each new route,
Yeah.
it has the potential to create ripples, doesn't it? To influence
Oh,
other areas of the industry in ways we might not immediately anticipate.
for sure.
Which brings us, I suppose, to our final point for you, the listener, to consider. Given these recent shifts and realignments we've talked about in the aviation landscape, what do you think might be the next unexpected turn? Or the next significant opportunity that emerges in the world of air travel and transportation?
Good question.
Yeah, maybe think about how these decisions and trends we've discussed today might pave the way for other changes that are just, over the horizon, something to mull over. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.